On July 25, 2023, the Rock Island Police Department in Illinois received an unusual call from a woman in Florida. This individual, later identified as an anonymous source but connected to the investigation, had contacted the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, to express concerns about a child who may have died. According to the caller, Sushi Staples, a mother residing in the 1700 block of 212 Avenue, Rock Island, had a 10-year-old son named Zion Staples, whom the caller suspected had passed away around December 2022. More disturbingly, the caller alleged that the boy's body was not only hidden but possibly disposed of. So, what is the truth behind this case? Was the caller's suspicion correct? And was Sushi Staples, the boy's mother, hiding a horrific secret? Let's dive into the case and uncover the truth together. And don't forget to like and subscribe to ensure you don't miss any new true crime cases. This wasn't the first time the police or DCFS had received information about the Staples family. According to records, DCFS had investigated the family multiple times over the past decade, with allegations of child abuse or neglect. A 2021 report had mentioned Zion, but no specific action was taken. The caller from Florida claimed she had previously attempted to report her concerns in February and late May or early June 2023, but those calls seemingly went uninvestigated. This time, her persistence prompted DCFS to forward the information to the Rock Island Police, requesting a welfare check at the Staples residence. The Rock Island Police, recognizing the severity of the allegations, dispatched officers to the provided address on the evening of July 25, 2023. This initial visit was brief, but laid the groundwork for one of the most shocking cases in the city's recent history. Officers arrived at the rented home in the Highland Park Historic District, near the Iowa state line and the Mississippi River, and met Sushi Staples, 37 years old. The initial conversation was short, but what Sushi Staples said raised suspicions. When officers knocked on Sushi Staples' door that evening, she appeared flustered, repeatedly asking why the police were there. The officers explained they were investigating a DCFS call, alleging that Sushi Staples had a son named Zion, who had died from an accidental self-inflicted gunshot and whose body was being hidden in the house. Sushi Staples immediately denied the allegations, stating she had no son named Zion and suggesting the accusations might stem from harassment by her ex-husband's girlfriend. She even requested to call her family to inform them of the police presence, emphasizing that she was scared and didn't understand what was happening. The officer, remaining calm, pressed further. "Are you sure there's no boy named Zion? We need to verify because this is a serious allegation." Sushi Staples shook her head, insisting, "No, I don't have any sons at all. Someone might be trying to harm me." She then spun a complex story about identity theft, claiming another woman had used her information to file fraudulent taxes and create fake documents, including a birth certificate for a child named Zion. Though bizarre, this story left the officers without enough grounds to search the house immediately. However, one detail caught the officers' attention. Sushi Staples repeatedly emphasized that she only had 4 daughters and made no mention of any sons. This contradicted DCFS records, which indicated Sushi Staples had 8 children, with Zion being the 6th. The officers requested to check the basement, where the Florida caller suggested the body might be hidden. Sushi Staples refused, stating she was uncomfortable letting police into her home without a clear reason. "Look at where I live," she said, implying her home wasn't the kind of place where such a horrific crime could occur. Without a search warrant and no immediate signs of danger, the officers left after the brief conversation. However, they noted the oddity in Sushi Staples' demeanor and decided to pursue a search warrant. The call from Florida, though unverified, was too serious to ignore. That night, detectives began gathering additional information, including reviewing DCFS records and documents related to the Staples family. A 2021 report confirmed that DCFS had visited Sushi Staples' home in Chicago and noted the presence of a boy named Zion, along with 4 daughters and another boy. This further fueled suspicions that Sushi Staples was hiding something. By the morning of July 26, 2023, the Rock Island police had obtained a search warrant for Sushi Staples' home. At 9:30 a.m., a team of officers and detectives, equipped with body cameras, returned to the 1700 block of 21-2 Avenue. This time, they weren't there to talk but to conduct a thorough search. The house, a two-story rental with a garage in the back, was located in a quiet residential area, showing no outward signs of anything amiss. Neighbors, including Andre and Danielle Bilta, a couple who had recently moved nearby, later said they always thought the Staples family was a normal Christian family, with the young girls often playing with chalk on the sidewalk or riding scooters in front of the house. "We saw two girls, occasionally out in the yard." Andre and Danielle Bilta said, "I saw them drawing with chalk in the back driveway and playing with scooters in front of the garage. Everything seemed really normal. They waved when they saw us. And we thought, oh, they actually seem pretty friendly compared to neighbors. But it was a bit strange because knowing we were here, working on the house, and knowing her, our houses are only 30 feet apart, but everything was so quiet, and there was nothing to make us suspicious. This case really caught us off guard and made us a little scared. I absolutely didn't expect it. When the police knocked, Sushi Staples appeared again, but this time her demeanor was noticeably more tense. The officers informed her they had a search warrant and would inspect the entire house, including the basement and garage. Sushi Staples, though reluctant, could not stop them. She continued to repeat her story about identity theft and denied Zion's existence. "I only have 4 daughters," she said, "and my kids are upstairs. You can check, but you won't find anything." The search began on the main floor of the house. Officers inspected the living room, kitchen, and upstairs bedrooms, where Sushi Staples' 4 daughters, aged approximately 5 to 15, were present. The girls seemed unaware of the gravity of the situation, and there were no immediate signs of a body in the house. However, a detective noticed an odd detail in Sushi Staples' master bedroom. They found a birth certificate and social security card bearing the name Zion Staples. When questioned about these documents, Sushi Staples immediately claimed they were fake, insisting someone had created them to harm her. "I reported this to the FBI and IRS," she asserted, but she provided no evidence of any related investigations. The officers moved to the back of the house and noticed an overgrown vacant lot filled with dense vines obstructing the path. Suspecting something might be buried among the foliage, the officers discussed and began clearing the overgrowth. After about an hour of cutting through the vines, they found nothing unusual. Continuing the search, the officers proceeded to the basement, where the Florida caller suggested a body might be hidden. The basement was dark, damp, and cluttered with plastic bins and old furniture. The officers checked each bin but found nothing out of the ordinary. Some detectives began to doubt the accuracy of the Florida tip, but they resolved to search more thoroughly. After about 2 hours of fruitless searching, the team moved to the garage behind the house. The garage was a small space filled with miscellaneous items, including a large metal trash can in the corner. Officers, assisted by a crime scene technician, began inspecting the garage. One detective noticed a faint odor, though not overpowering, and observed dryer sheets stuffed into the garage's ventilation holes. This raised suspicions, as dryer sheets are commonly used to mask odors, such as the smell of decomposition. Around 9:30 p.m. on July 26, 2023, after nearly 4 hours of searching, officers opened the lid of the metal trash can. Inside, they discovered the body of a young boy, later identified as Zion Staples. The boy was wearing only Spider-Man pajama pants, and his body was severely decomposed, with signs of partial burning. The horrific scene left the officers at the scene stunned. A technician quickly photographed the crime scene, while detectives called for support from the Rock Island County Coroner's Office. Zion Staples, full name Zion Staples, was 10 years old and confirmed to be the son of Sushi Staples. He was one of Sushi Staples' 8 children, with 4 sisters living in the Rock Island home at the time of the incident. Zion's father, believed to be Sushi Staples' ex-husband, did not live with the family, having reportedly divorced Sushi Staples years earlier and now living with a new girlfriend. Sushi Staples, who was being questioned inside the house, was informed of the discovery. Initially, she maintained her denial, but when confronted with undeniable evidence, she began to change her story. She admitted that Zion was her son, but claimed he had died in an accident, and she hid the body out of fear. "I didn't want my other children to know," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't know what to do." Following the discovery of the body, Sushi Staples was arrested on the spot on the evening of July 26, 2023. She was taken to the Rock Island County Jail and held on a $500,000 bond. During initial interrogations, Sushi Staples provided contradictory statements, further fueling detectives' suspicions about her true motives. Initially, Sushi Staples continued to insist she had no son named Zion and that all related documents were fake. However, when police presented the birth certificate and social security card found in her home, she changed her story, stating that Zion had died around December 2022 in an accident. According to Sushi Staples, the boy had been playing with a handgun and accidentally shot himself in the basement of the house. She claimed she was not home at the time, as she was working, and only discovered the body upon returning. Sushi Staples explained that she panicked after her son's death and didn't know what to do. Instead of reporting it to the police, she decided to hide the body in a plastic bin in the basement. About 2 months before the body was discovered, she moved it from the basement to the metal trash can in the garage, fearing her other children might find it. She also admitted to using dryer sheets to mask the smell of decomposition and attempting to burn part of the body to dispose of it, though she was unsuccessful. When asked why she didn't report her son's death, Sushi Staples said she feared being charged and losing custody of her remaining children. She also hinted that she was facing financial difficulties and that continuing to receive government benefits for Zion may have helped her make ends meet. However, she denied this was her primary motive, emphasizing that she acted out of panic. Detectives also interviewed 2 of Sushi Staples' 4 daughters who were living in the house at the time of the incident. According to the girls' statements, Zion had indeed been playing with a handgun in the basement around December 2022. One of the girls said they heard a loud bang and then found Zion lying on the floor with blood coming from his head. They claimed their mother was not home at the time and that they informed Sushi Staples when she returned. The girls' statements, while consistent with the story of an accident, raised several questions. First, it was unclear where the gun came from or who owned it. Sushi Staples claims she knew nothing about the gun and suggested it might have belonged to a friend or acquaintance who left it in the house. Second, detectives suspected the girls' statements might have been influenced by their mother, as they appeared frightened and reluctant to say anything that could harm Sushi Staples. On July 28, 2023, a preliminary autopsy was conducted in Rockford, Illinois, by the Rock Island County Coroner's Office. Coroner Brian Gustafson confirmed that Zion Staples died from a gunshot wound to the head. Based on the degree of decomposition, Gustafson estimated the death occurred around December 2022, meaning the body had been hidden for approximately 7 to 8 months. However, Gustafson noted that it was impossible to definitively determine who shot Zion, and the investigation remained ongoing. The preliminary report also noted that the body showed signs of partial burning, consistent with Sushi Staples' claim that she had attempted to dispose of the body. The dryer sheets found in the garage were confirmed as an effort to mask the smell of decomposition. While the death was deemed suspicious, there was no clear evidence of homicide, and the theory of an accidental self-inflicted shooting was still under consideration. Following her arrest, Sushi Staples was charged with 3 initial counts: concealment of a death, obstruction of justice, and failure to report the death of a child under 13. These charges stemmed from her actions in hiding Zion's body, lying to the police, and failing to report her son's death. Sushi Staples was held at the Rock Island County Jail with a $500,000 bond and was assigned a public defender to represent her. On August 31, 2023, a preliminary hearing was held at the Rock Island County Courthouse. Detective Jonathan Shepard, who led the investigation, testified about the police findings. He confirmed that Zion's body was found in the metal trash can in the garage and that Sushi Staples initially denied her son's existence. Shepard also referenced the statements from two of Sushi Staples' daughters, who claimed Zion accidentally shot himself while playing with a handgun. Detective Shepard also mentioned the allegation that Sushi Staples may have continued receiving government benefits for Zion after his death. However, he noted there was no concrete evidence of benefit fraud, and Sushi Staples' primary motive appeared to be fear of being charged and losing custody of her remaining children. The judge at the hearing found sufficient grounds to proceed with the case, and Sushi Staples was ordered to appear at a formal trial. On January 4, 2024, in a surprising development, Sushi Staples agreed to plead guilty to a single charge endangering the life or health of a child, a Class 3 felony. In exchange, prosecutors dropped the three initial charges, including concealment of a death, obstruction of justice, and failure to report a child's death. This plea deal reduced the potential sentence from 2 to 10 years in prison to 2 to 5 years, with the possibility of parole after serving part of the term. This decision sparked controversy in the community. Some, including those following the case on platforms like Reddit, argued the sentence was too lenient given the severity of Sushi Staples' actions. They questioned whether the accidental shooting story was entirely accurate or if Sushi Staples had other motives, such as intentionally killing her son to spite her ex-husband or to continue receiving benefits. However, supporters of the plea deal argued there was no clear evidence of murder and that Sushi Staples had acted in panic following a tragic accident. On February 16, 2024, Sushi Staples was sentenced to 2 years in prison at the Rock Island County Justice Center, with credit for time served since her arrest. The judge noted that, while Sushi Staples' actions were unacceptable, there was no evidence she intentionally caused Zion's death. The sentence also reflected Sushi Staples' status as a first-time offender and her expressed remorse during the proceedings. After sentencing, Sushi Staples wrote a letter to the court requesting a reconsideration of her sentence, asking for probation or mental health treatment instead of prison time. She argued that she had learned her lesson and vowed not to reoffend. However, this request was denied, and Sushi Staples continued serving her sentence in an Illinois prison. The death of Zion Staples and his mother's actions shocked the Rock Island community. Neighbors, such as Andre and Danielle Bilta, expressed horror upon learning a body had been hidden in the garage just feet from their home. Another neighbor, who wished to be identified only as Deb, told the press she lost sleep over the incident and couldn't fathom how Sushi Staples managed to conceal the smell of decomposition for 7 months. "She must have done something to cover the smell," Deb said. "No one could stand that odor." On social media platforms like Reddit, the case garnered hundreds of comments, with many expressing outrage over Sushi Staples' actions, particularly her denial of her son's existence. Some questioned the role of the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services (DCFS), arguing that the agency failed to act swiftly enough to protect Zion Staples and his siblings. Others debated whether Sushi Staples was a murderer or simply a panicked mother who made grave mistakes following a tragic accident. The case also raised questions about the effectiveness of DCFS. Records showed that DCFS had received multiple reports about the Staples family over the past decade, including a 2021 allegation that Sushi Staples had restrained or confined one of Zion's older brothers. However, these allegations were deemed unsubstantiated, and no specific actions were taken. The call from the Florida woman in July 2023 ultimately prompted a welfare check, but many argued that DCFS and the police should have acted sooner, especially after earlier calls in February and May. DCFS spokesperson Heather Tarson called Zion's death a profound tragedy and explained that the agency lacks the authority to conduct welfare checks without specific evidence of abuse or neglect. In this case, DCFS forwarded the caller's information to the police, and a hotline worker even personally contacted the police to ensure the report was addressed. However, the case highlighted gaps in coordination between agencies and the need for stricter oversight of families with a history of investigations. Although the case concluded with Sushi Staples' sentencing, many questions remain unanswered. Who owned the gun Zion used? How did a 10-year-old boy access a handgun without supervision? Did Sushi Staples truly act in panic? Or did she have other motives, such as concealing the death to continue receiving benefits? And most critically, why did no one notice Zion's absence for 7 months? Especially since he was not enrolled in any schools in the Rock Island Milan area. These questions haunt not only the family and the Rock Island community, but also pose broader challenges about protecting children and preventing similar tragedies in the future. Zion Staples' death is a painful reminder that sometimes the most vulnerable children are overlooked within their own homes. The Zion Staples case is a story of tragedy, systemic failure, and misguided decisions under pressure. From the fateful call by a woman in Florida to the 4-hour search that led to the horrific discovery in a trash can, the case exposed the dark corners of a family and the flaws in the child protection system. Sushi Staples, the mother who hid her son's body for 7 months, faced a 2-year prison sentence, but the story of Zion's death leaves many questions unresolved. The Rock Island community, though shaken by the incident, has begun the process of healing, with calls for DCFS reform and stronger child protection measures. Meanwhile, the image of Zion Staples, the boy in Spider-Man pajamas, remains a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and society's responsibility to protect its most vulnerable. That concludes today's case. Thank you for following along, and I hope you found it engaging. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the latest cases. See you next time.